Welcome to Scrum Masters Elite_UK. Subscribe to follow in-depth rugby and sports analysis. Please subscribe to the channel.
Steve Borthwick is facing a very difficult decision. And when analysing the whole situation, what makes me think the most is not just who gets selected or who gets left out of the England squad, but the way modern rugby is forcing coaches to balance immediate winning ambition with the long-term future of the entire group. His consideration of resting Maro Itoje, even though Itoje is the captain and the spiritual leader of the England team, shows that elite sport today is no longer simply about the best players must always play. Behind every match is a complex equation involving physical load, psychology, scheduling, and athletes' career longevity. I feel that Borthwick is trying to build a more professional and humane environment. In the past, many national teams overused their star players until they became exhausted or seriously injured. Fans usually only see players on the field, but few understand how extremely demanding it is to maintain elite performance in international rugby. England having to travel across 3 continents in 3 weeks is not only a tactical challenge but also a test of mental endurance. A player must adapt to time zones, handle performance pressure, and keep their body in peak condition with almost no full recovery time. From my personal perspective, I think delaying the final selection decision until June is reasonable. It shows that Borthwick is not acting emotionally or bowing to public pressure. He wants to evaluate everything thoroughly before making a final decision. This reflects an important leadership quality, the ability to listen, consider carefully, and avoid rushing. In modern sport, patience can sometimes be more important than strong public statements. Maro Itoje is also a case that makes me think deeply. A captain always wants to contribute and play in every important match. But perhaps players like him sometimes need protection from their own fighting spirit. Fans often praise athletes for sacrifice, toughness, and the ability to fight until the end. But we should also learn to respect scientific rest. Rest is not a sign of weakness, but a way to sustain long-term durability. I think this is a valuable lesson not only in sport but also in everyday life.
When I look at this story personally, I also take away the idea that constant effort is not always the best approach. There are periods when people need to reduce workload to recover both physically and mentally. In modern society, many people are caught in a cycle of non-stop work to prove their worth. But without balance, it is easy to fall into burnout without even realizing it. The fact that a major national team, like England, is starting to focus on managing player workload shows a positive shift in awareness of both mental and physical health. Another detail that caught my attention is the possibility of Ollie Chessum captaining in some matches. This shows that Borthwick is not only thinking about the present, but also preparing for the future. A strong team cannot rely forever on a few veteran individuals. To sustain long-term success, they must give opportunities for the next generation to develop. This is something many top teams around the world have done well. Transition phases are often risky, but without change, the team will eventually fall behind. I think fans sometimes need more patience with the rebuilding process of a national team. After a disappointing Six Nations campaign with 4 losses in 5 matches, the pressure on Borthwick is certainly high. In modern rugby or football, just a few poor results are enough for public opinion to question a coach's ability. But building a strong team has never been something that can be completed in a few months. A team needs time to define its tactical identity, build trust, and create cohesion.
What I appreciate is that the England coaching staff seems to be confronting the issues directly rather than avoiding them. They acknowledge that the team needs to improve discipline and its ability to convert chances. That is a positive approach. In sport, the most dangerous failure is not losing matches, but refusing to face the real causes of failure. A team can only improve when it honestly dissects its shortcomings. The case of Bernhard Jans van Rensburg also opens an interesting discussion about identity and opportunity in modern international sport. A player who once represented South Africa U20 now training with England will certainly generate mixed opinions. Some may argue that this reduces the local identity of a national team. On the other hand, modern rugby is becoming increasingly globalized. Players compete in different countries, build careers in new environments, and gradually form attachments to where they live and play. I believe what matters most is not where a player was born, but their commitment to the jersey they represent. If a player is truly professional, serious, and committed long-term to a country's rugby system, they deserve fair opportunity. However, I also understand why fans may feel uncertain. National teams are closely tied to national pride, so any change in selection criteria easily leads to debate.
From my perspective, transparency is essential. When unions and coaches clearly explain their selection decisions, fans are more likely to accept them. The most dangerous situation is when decisions feel inconsistent or unfair. In this case, Borthwick has publicly emphasized that everything follows World Rugby regulations. That partly shows his intention to avoid unnecessary misunderstandings. The potential return of Courtney Lawes and Joe Marchant also brings a sense of hope for England. Sometimes players who go abroad return with greater experience and maturity. This reflects the reality that international environments can help athletes develop more holistically, both technically and mentally. However, Finn Baxter needing surgery and missing the summer tour is a reminder that professional sport always comes with significant sacrifices. An injury can change both the player's and a team's entire plan. Thinking more deeply, I see that this whole story is not just about sports news. It clearly reflects how people deal with pressure, change, and expectations. In any field, sport, work, or personal life, everyone eventually has to make difficult decisions between the present and the future. Sometimes you must take risks for immediate success, but at other times you need to step back to build a more sustainable foundation for the long term. The biggest lesson I take for myself is the importance of long-term thinking. Real success is not just a moment of brilliance, but the ability to maintain performance and value over time. That requires clarity, discipline, and sometimes the courage to say no to short-term pressure.
For fans, this story is also a reminder to view sport in a more humane way. Athletes are not machines. They have physical limits, emotions, and personal challenges. Instead of criticizing when a player is rested or when a team experiments with selection, we should understand that every decision is part of a long-term strategy to help the team develop sustainably. For the wider community, England's situation highlights the importance of people management in any organization. A good leader is not only someone who uses talent effectively, but also someone who protects it, enables long-term growth, and prepares the next generation. If an organization focuses only on short-term results and ignores the human factor, sustained success becomes very difficult. Ultimately, what impresses me most is how rugby, despite its physical intensity and brutality, reflects many values of life: teamwork, responsibility, sacrifice, discipline, and adaptability in the face of change. Stories like this make sport far more meaningful than just winning or losing.
Thank you for following Scrum Masters Elite_UK. See you again as we continue to look at rugby from a long-term, humane, and sustainable perspective.